Hi guys, Hengist here from House of Hengist Comics and welcome back. Strap into your dinghies because we're back in Norway in our Norway in Flames series, and this one's entitled The Sinking of the Wilhelm GUSTOFF. But first news from Narvik, that's where we've got our main operations occurring. The Kriegsmarine have been decorated for their stand just outside of Narvik. The Gebirgsjäger have made an offensive push towards the enemy, and we've got a huge number of ships that are being sunk in and around the fjords. You know, the fjords in their own right deserve a campaign, and we are actually reflecting on producing this. As you can see, there are still a huge number of ships at the bottom of these fjords, and the map sort of indicates the activity with you know, coastal gun support, destroyers, we've got torpedo boats, and of course much bigger craft such as the Warspite, also known as the Old Lady. Let's look at the set now, and we've again built a backdrop with the coastline. We have a lighthouse with a small boat, and basically we've got the tanker, the Horst vessel. She's just at anchor, the German tanker. We have a lighter coming out to collect her, the Bremen. And let's look a little bit closely now at the Norwegian forces. The Norwegians themselves have got obviously this torpedo cutter. She's a much larger boat than a torpedo boat in her own right, and they're obviously reliant on a bit of deck support from some aircraft, including another torpedo bomber and a Gloucester Gladiator. The British forces on their own right don't have anything effectively on the set or on the table, but by God have they got a big beast basically off, and that happens to be the Old Lady herself, the Warspite, who's been wreaking havoc with her guns all around Narvik. She is effectively the beast of the north, and is feared by the Germans. The Stokers kept ever busy. The German forces, as I've sort of indicated, have a tanker, the Horst vessel, but the main vessel that's coming in is a brand new, the Wilhelm GUSTOFF, which is a brand new hospital ship, and she's got all the latest equipment and some supplies. Here's a better picture really of the tanker come freighter that we were talking about, and obviously the lighter here, a lighter vessel that can go out and basically transport cargo into Narvik. We're using Achtung Panzer rules, what we call Achtung Schnellboot, and basically that's to fit in with our Flames of War version. So let's have a look at the mission in itself. Well, we use a battle deck in a system like this where everything, including the reserves and events, are built into the card. So it's very much a random game. Obviously, the Norwegians and Allies trying to sink as much shipping as possible. Really, basically, it's going to be very much event-driven. So without further ado, let's get into the game. Well, the Norwegian motor torpedo cutter has managed to get in close through the night. As dawn breaks with a darkening sky, we basically see effectively the Horst vessel getting ready to meet and greet the lighter. But as this happens, Thor, the Norwegian vessel, her commander, basically Vidar Johansen, orders the two torpedoes at fish to fly, and they basically launch from the vessel. The crew are completely oblivious to this in the half-light, and these two torpedoes are stinging through the water, churning up bubbles behind them. One deviates, however, but the two torpedoes ram home effectively without being dodged, one hitting a midship and the other basically in the stern. Two massive explosions follow. The crew that are on the deck are vaporized basically as the whole vessel goes up. The cargo ignites and there's a massive explosion. The vessel goes down pretty instantaneously. All lives lost. There's burning fire everywhere, as you can see from these photographs, and then she's gone with just a big black plume going towards the horizon. Thor turns about hard to starboard, basically tries to fire basically at Bremen, isn't that successful initially. She puts small sort of fire as this smoke is sort of concealing a lot of what's going on. Her deck gun again misses. The machine guns rake the side of the vessel, and unfortunately there's a sort of loud splash, and we find that a man has gone overboard from the Bremen, but the Bremen's effectively pinned. She hasn't even noticed in the heavy rain as it begins to lash the decks. And we see another card appear. This time it's the Coastal 88 gun. They've woken up to that huge deafening explosion from the sinking of the Horse vessel. Immediately ram a shell into the breach and open fire. One shell, first shot, needing a remarkable 6, hits basically at the rear of Thor, sends up a massive explosion which spreads, causing maximum damage and bringing her to 0. One more hit and she's down. Limping, she's trying to crawl towards that smoke. Basically the poor man in the water left behind as the chop and swell builds around the ocean and fjord of Narvik. We now see basically what's transpiring is we get the German motorboat that's been alerted to this comes racing to the rescue, but effectively Hildegard itself is chasing down Thor when we get the arrival of the hospital ship. She's passed a rapid rate as they try and fix their engines and everything by Thor, and we also get Waspite's spotter, which suddenly arrives. At the same point we get a 109 who, coming treetop, manages to just glimpse a sight of the chaos that befalls it. And effectively the fairy godmother, that's her nickname or call sign, manages to dive away, but the 109 is hot on her tail when we get an order from the bridge at Warspite to open fire with her 15-inch guns. A massive explosion basically firing to port, and as you can see here, the sort of image of an explosion and that projectile racing towards its target. A few shells miss. They're landing all around the hospital ship, sending up huge plumes of water, and there's general terror aboard the hospital ship. She's brand new, she's just come in with only a confident sort of trained crew, and 2 shells, 15-inch shells, hit the Bremen. They blow her to pieces. Again, as these sort of photographs indicate just how quickly she goes down, blown in half, breaks up, and she sinks. 2 ships down in less than 6 minutes. It's absolute terror and carnage outside Narvik. The hospital ship is just completely stranded. The patrol boat's trying to do everything they can to try and look for survivors, but there's none there. When an ME-110 on standby also just flies in and catches a glimpse of 2 Norwegian Air Force, a Gloucester Gladiator and a dive bomber. Now she immediately doesn't hang about and just launches a torpedo. There are recriminations later on. That hits the water, bounces a couple of times, and then she's basically in and she's swimming. And that fish is going straight, misses the patrol boat and goes bang, port side, right into, starboard side, right into the middle. The 109 misses because she's done an Immelman to catch up with her. The torpedo detonates with a massive explosion, causing maximum damage, and basically, as you can see from these photographs, a huge number of fires break out. Warspite's still firing. There's shells landing everywhere. As basically the fairy godmother just basically puts full thrusters on and drives away as the 109 comes in after her. The 110, and when they again get another random card, this time it's a damaged Junkers which is flying in, her engine putting as she goes with smoke blemishing, but she can't get the 3s that she needs to land safely and crashes into the drink. At that point, in amongst all this carnage, the fires have broken out. There's panic and terror as men and women are trapped below decks. The ship's sinking too quickly as effectively the Norwegian aircraft effectively exit and head for home. And down she goes. The Wilhelm GUSTOFF sunk. All souls lost. It's a massive Allied victory by 25 points, guys. But let's now look at the postscript of what has happened. Well, what a game. It was really quick and fast. One man survived, that was the man overboard, and so many loved ones lost, all souls effectively killed. The Germans are incensed. Their military attaché has written strong letters to Berlin, And we should never really forget those that sacrificed on the sea as well as the land and in the air. I mean, ultimately, this sort of game is very difficult to try and replicate with so many events going on. But it was a very challenging game to be played, very difficult for the German fleet. But again, I think reflects really what was going on. So we've got more coming up. Obviously, we've got Gebirgsjäger fighting the Norwegians and the British Guards, with Major MacDonald at last seeing action. So stay tuned, and we'll be out with another video this Saturday, hopefully. And best wishes. Have a nice day, and it's over and out for me. Bye for now.